Okay, so before we start, I would like to mention a certain agenda that I'm going to try to accomplish in this project. So I have my project goals, and that is to create an entire ETL process in a database and a Power BI dashboard to utilize the sales data and achieve below objective. First, to analyze the sales trend, focusing on key metrics of sales revenue, number of order placed, and average order value. And then to identify product performance, analyzing different product lines, payment method, and transaction status. And then identify customer behavior, analyzing the different behavior of customers and providing recommendations to maximize customer engagement. And then I would like to answer some of the stakeholders' questions. Like, for example, I would like to answer in 2021, in which month was the highest total transaction value recorded? And then in 2022, which category generated the highest transaction value? And then compare the transaction value for each category in 2021 and 2022. Identify categories with increased or decreased transaction values from 2021 and 2022. Then show the top 5 most popular payment methods used in 2022 based on total unique orders. And then finally rank the following 5 products by transaction value: Samsung, Apple, Sony, Huawei, and Lenovo. Okay, so now before we start, when you open your SQL server, make sure that you save the server name. You can just copy it and then put it in a notepad, or you can just write it on a paper, but make sure you want to save this server name, because we are going to use this server name to connect our SQL server with the Power BI later on. Now after all of this is done, you can just click connect. Okay, and now after you click connect, you can go to click a new query. Okay, so alright, now you can just write create database, and then the name of the database that you want to use. Now in my case, I would like to use DB, which stands for database, e_commerce for e-commerce. Then I would just click this execute, and then it's complete. And now you can go to here, these databases, and then now I have the DB e-commerce. Now I can expand this database, and then as you can see, we should import our data inside these tables. So how can we do that? You can just click the database and then go to task, then import flat file. You can just click that, and now you can just click next, and then the location of file to be imported. So you can just browse. And okay, so this is the database that we have. We have customer detail, order detail, payment detail, and SQL detail, and all of this data is in a CSV format. So you can just, for example, click this customer detail first, and then I would like to name it staging customer detail. So what is staging? Staging refers to something that so I would like to have a raw data inside my database. So I would like to have a different name for the raw data and the data that I would create later on based on our analysis. So that's why I'm naming it staging customer database, customer detail, by adding the staging name, just to make a difference between the raw data and the data that we are going to create later on. and then we can just click next. And now you can see this is what the data look like. If it's seems to be fine, you can click next again. And now I would like to allow nulls, and then click next, and then click finish, and we are successfully insert our data. And now we can click close. And if you go here and then click refresh and then click the tables, now you can see our CSV file has become a database or a table inside our DB e-commerce database. Now you can go to new query and then check this database, and then so let's select everything from staging, customer detail. Then let's click execute, and now we have our file. And now we can do the rest of the process in towards the other data. So you can click right click and then task, and then import flat file, then click next again, then browse again, and then just import the rest of the file, like the order detail, the payment detail, and then the SKU details. And then do not forget to include the allow nulls so that we can have the complete data inside our database. Okay, so now let's answer the stakeholders' questions. And let me remind you that these are the questions. So we have 5 questions. And the first question is, in 2021, in which month was the highest total transaction value after discount recorded? And the second question is, in 2022, which category generated the highest transaction value? In number 3, the third question is, compare the transaction value for each category in 2021 and 2022. Identify categories with increase or decrease transaction. So that's number 2. And then number 4, show the top 5 most popular payment method used in 2022 based on total unique orders. And then the last question, number 5, is rank the following 5 products by transaction value: Samsung, Apple, Sony, Huawei, and Lenovo. Okay, so let's just start with the first question. And that is, in 2021, in which month was the highest total transaction value after discount recorded? So we need to let's select the order details from staging, order detail, and let's run this. And wait a minute. So okay, so we got all of this, right? Now, okay, we have something to note here. Note, if you're looking at the is valid column, is valid is basically mean the transaction is not getting cancelled, or this is like the what you call it, well, the transaction is valid. It's basically not cancelled, because in some of these order, people cancel the order. Okay, So is valid is our actual profit, basically. Is our actual transaction, not cancelled, or actual transaction. Okay, so that is important. Okay, now let's let's remove the 2022. Let's select the 2021, where the year we want to select the 2021 from order date equal to 2021. And do not forget that is valid should be 1, because that is the actual transaction. Is valid is equal to 1. So let's execute this. Let's see. Okay, so we remove the 2022. We have 2021 transaction, and we also have the valid transaction. Okay, and we want to have which month was the highest in total transaction. So let's select the month of the order date for each month. Let's say as month number, and then because we want to the highest total transaction, which means we have to use sum in. Okay, so which one is the transaction value? Well, it is the after discount value, so we are going to sum up the after discount as total transaction. And because we are using the sum function, we need group by, because it is an aggregation function. Group by the month of the order date. Order date. Okay, so let's try to run this. Okay, now we have this as a result. Now they are asking us which month is the highest, right? So let's order the data by the total transaction, the highest transaction, by the sum of after discount, and we order by descending order. Now let's try to run this, and there you go. We have month 11, which is November, is the highest in total transaction. So we answer the first question. So that's your answer for the first question. Let's I don't know if I should. So the answer is month 11, or November. November has the highest total transaction with, let's see how many this is. So this has 259 million, 59 million transaction value, total transaction value being recorded in 2021. Okay, so that's the first question. Let's move on into the second questions. So the second question is, in 2022, which category generated the highest transaction value? Okay, so let's copy the question. So okay, I'm gonna do this. So number 2, the second question, and this is number 1 for the first question. Okay, and okay, so we want to have the category, and if you're looking at the diagram, the category is in the SKU details, so we need to have the SKU details, and we need to have the order details. So we are going to join the two tables. Okay, so first let's select let's just select everything first and then from staging, order details, and let's call that OD as order details, and then let's do the left join for the staging SKU details, right? I believe it's SKU details. Yep, it's SKU details. And we can join it on, again, let's look at the diagram. So SQL detail has this connection with the order detail in the where in the order details it's the SKU ID and the SKU details is in the ID column. So let's do that. On the order details is in SKU ID, and then in the staging SKU detail, let's call it SD. So SD is ID. Okay, now we want to have category. Which category, right? So let's select the SD from the SKU detail, SD.category. Okay, and then we also want to have in which category has the highest transaction value. So it is the same thing with the previous questions. So the transaction value is the sum of from OD tables, OD or the order details tables, and we want to have after discount as total transaction let's call it that. And then because we are using the sum function, we need to have group by, and it's grouped by the SD category, right? So this is the group by, and do not forget we want to have the 2022 and the valid transaction. So we are going to do the same thing where we select the year and the valid transaction. So it's going to be right here where the year of the SD order date, SD order date are equal to 2022, and the SD of, not SD, wait, it's OD, should be also OD of the order date. OD of is valid are equal to 1, which is the valid transaction. And again, we want to have the highest value, transaction value, so we can order by the sum of OD after discount. I hope this is right. So let's try and run this. Okay, so oh, I forgot to put the descending order because the um, the default order is actually ascending, not descending. So let's run this again. Okay, now we have the tables, and the first table showing us the highest transaction on the category value, on the category aspect. So in which category? Well, the answer is in the mobiles and tablets, with, let's see how many this is. So it has 980 million in transaction value. Okay, so that is the second question. So we finished the second question. Okay, now let's move on into the third question. So what is the third question? Okay, so it's a pretty long question. Let's do okay, let's do this, and then let's read the questions. Compare transaction value for each category in 2021 and 2022. Okay, and then identify categories with increase or decrease transaction value from 2021 to 2022. Okay, so first we want to separate the 2021 and then the 2022 transaction value, right? And then after we separate those two data, we want to have the difference between 2021 and 2022. So that's what we are going to do. Okay, so let's first select the, okay, we want to have the categories just like the previous questions, the second questions. Let's do select from staging order detail, and as order detail OD, left and left join with staging SKU details SD, because we want to get the category. On, I forgot to put the on OD dot SKU ID, and the SKU details is the ID, so I want to get the SD category, and the sum of the OD dot after discount as the total transaction. Okay, and then I want to, because I'm using the sum function, I need group by, and I'm going to group by the SD category, and again we need to make sure that we have the valid transaction where OD is equal OD dot is valid is equal to 1. Now I want to have the 2021 transaction, so let's do, and the year of the transaction is, or OD dot order date is 2021. So okay, we are basically copying the second question. Okay, we are basically copying the second question, and then Okay, let's try to run this. Okay, we have a lot of things. Invalid column name, SKU ID, invalid staging. Oh, not customer name, but order detail. Okay, I hope this is correct. Okay, again, we are basically repeating the second question because we want to have the transaction value for each category in 2021. Okay, and that's what we did in the second question. All right, now I want to use something called CTE. CTE is basically you have this data table as its own table. So, and this is not going to be saved in the memory. So it is good to so you don't have to save this table, right? You don't have to save this table. You can just use the CTE table. It is basically what happened is I'm going to save this table but not in the memory itself. Does that make sense? But in the in this code environment. Does that make sense? So okay, I'm just gonna show you what CTE look like. So I'm going to have width. Okay, I'm gonna call this transaction 2021 because this is 2021, and as open bracket and then close bracket. Now I want to have 2021 and 2022, so it is better for me to just rename this total transaction as total transaction of 2021. Okay, so now if I select everything from transaction 2021, so it becomes a table, but not the table that we have previously. It is its own separate table that is not stored in the memory. Okay, so let's run this, and it giving me the same result because that's the point. I want to save this. I want to save this data. Okay, and now okay, so we get the 2021. Now let's copy all of this, and then let's call and then okay, let's change this to 2022 like this and like that. Okay, so this is the 2022. Now I have two CTE, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put a comma after the end of the first CTE, right? And then I'm going to put a name. So what is the name of this table? I'm gonna call it transaction 2022 as, and do the same thing, put it inside a bracket. Okay, now I have the 2021 transaction and the 2022 transaction. Now let's compare those two transactions. Okay, so since it becomes two separate tables, I have to join those two tables. Okay, so let's select let's see, I'm just gonna put from. So our first table should be the transaction 2021. Let's call it T1. Left join, let's do the left join of transaction 2022, and let's call it T2. And on, okay, so we have something that we can connect, and that is the category, right? Because these two value, this one and this one value is a completely different value. So we need to connect these two tables with the same category, the same value category, and that is the category, the same value table, I mean, and that is the category table. Okay, so let's do on T1 dot category and the T2 dot category. Okay, so it should be T1. Okay, now I want to use the T1 table category column. Okay, and let's have T1 dot total transaction of 2021 and the T2 total transaction of 2022. Okay, okay, so first let's run this. I'm going to select all of the CTE table and to execute. I hope this is correct. And okay, so now we have both transaction from 2021 and the transaction from 2022 for each category. Okay, so this is what we want. Now the next things that we want is to find the difference, because we want to know, is it increased or is it decreased, right? So what happened is I want to have the difference value. So let's see the difference value. So it's going to be T2 dot the total transaction of 2022 minus the T1 of total transaction of 2021, and let's call it difference value. Okay, and again let's try running this. Let's see if this is work. Okay, so now we have the difference value, and as you can see there's a negative value there, which means the value has been decreased, the transaction has been decreased, and that's what we want. We want another column, let's call it a status column. So the status of the category is either decreased or increased based on the total transaction in both 2021 and 2022. And so let's do that. So let's find that, and we can use the case when the T2 dot total transaction minus T1 dot total transaction of 2021, and okay, so this should be 2022. If it's more than 0, right, if it's more than 0, then it should be increased. And else should be decreased. And let's end this as, and let's call it status column. Okay. So now again, let's try to run this. Okay, now we have the category column, the total transaction in 2021, the total transaction in 2022, the difference value, and the status. Okay, so for example, we have in the category of orders, in the first in the total transaction in the 2021, it has around 68 million. But the total transaction in 2022 is only 45 million. So the difference value is 23 million. So it has been decreased, right? On the other hand, we have entertainment that generates 173 million in 2021, but in the 2022 it generates 386 million with the difference value of 212 million. So, and the status is increased because it's increasing, the transaction has increased. Okay, so that is answering the third question. Okay, so that is our third question. Now let's move on into the fourth questions. The fourth question is, let's copy this. So now the fourth question is, show the top 5 most popular payment method used in 2022 based on total unique orders. Okay, so how can we do this? How do we do this? Now let's see what is the payment method. And if you look back into the diagram, the payment method is within the payment details, and we need to get access into that table using the join. Okay, so first of all, let's select from staging order details, and let's call it OD, and then we do the left join on staging payment details to get the payment methods, right? So let's call this payment detail as PD, and we want to join these two tables on. So let's see again. So in the order details, we have payment ID that connected to the payment details in the ID column. So that's what we are going to use. So it's OD dot payment ID equal to PD dot ID. Now let's take the payment method from the payment details table, and also we want to have the total unique order. So what does that mean? So what is the total unique order? It's going to be count total, so we're going to use count, and then unique we should be using distinct. Orders, so this should be the entire order, so we can just use the ID itself, and let's call it total unique order. Okay, and again, do not forget that the valid transaction is equal to 1. So where is valid, so it's going to be od dot is valid or equal to 1, and we want to get the 2022 transaction, so the year of the order date ordered from the order details table are equal to 2022. Now, because we are using the count function, we need to have a group by. So group by pid dot and payment method. Okay. And okay, so let's first let's run this, let's execute this. Okay, so now we have 9 payment methods, but the questions telling us to show top 5 most popular payment method. So what we can do, so we can do, okay, so first of all, let's order the column that based on the count of the distinct ID. Okay, so let's order by that in the descending order. Now, to show the top 5 most popular payment, we can have top 5 right before the payment method, right before the first column. If you're using MySQL, you can use limit and put it here, but this is SQL Server, so the function that you can use is top 5 before the first column. So let's try to run this. Okay, so now we get the top 5 most popular payment method in 2022. So the first most popular payment method is COD, which is cash on delivery, which has total unique order of more than 1,800 unique orders. And in the second payment method is pay access, which is only has 181, which is so it is such a big differences. And okay, so this is telling us that our customers prefer the cash on delivery payment method, like almost like maybe 90% of them or 80% of them. Okay, so that's a important information. Okay, so let's put the answer, and well, I can put the answer because it's a top 5 payment method. No, I can put the answer, and so let's put the answer, and it's going to be so the first is cash on delivery, and then pay access, and then customer credit, and then easy pay, and then the last one is Chess wallet. That's it. So that is the fourth question. Now let's moving on to the last question that we have, and that is question number 5. Let me copy this and put it right here. Let me put a comment right there. Okay, so the last question is rank the following 5 products by transaction value. So the following products are Samsung, Apple, Sony, Huawei, and Lenovo. So how can we do this? If you're looking at the product, okay, so what is the product? The product is basically in the SKU details. So it's in the SKU name. That is the product that we have. So if you look, if you open up, let's do select everything from staging, SKU detail. Let's run this and let's see the table. We have, like, so for example, 80 FSM35. What's the product there? Okay, so for example, we have Samsung 55 inches K 6500. So that is Samsung, right? That is Samsung there. And then we have Apple. We have Apple there. We have what else? So iPhone should be in the Apple category, right? And then we also have Huawei. There you go. Huawei Google Nexus 6P Silver. So that should be the Huawei part. So we need to have another column, and this column should categorize each product by its what did you call it, merit, not merit, by, well, the product name, by each product name. Okay, so let's do that. How can we do that, right? But before we do that, because this is kind of complicated, let's put it aside first. So let's do this first. Rank the following 5 product by transaction values first. Okay, so let's do that first by having wait, no, so I guess we should be doing the product first, I guess, or we can just put it in one place actually. Yeah, we can just doing it at once actually. But first of all, let's do, okay, you know what, let's join the table first before I'm getting confused by this. So let's do the left join on the staging SQL detail, and then from staging order detail. So let's do that. So let's call this OD, and then let's call this SD, and we want to join them on, in the OD part is going to be SKU ID, while in the SD part, or the SKU details table, is going to be the ID. Now I want to differentiate all of those tables. So what can I do? I want to have case when, so okay, lower, I'm going to use the lower function, because if you're looking at this SKU name, it has a capital, and it has a lower words, or lower what do you call it, so I want to just make everything into a lower string, so we can use lower sd.sku name. So okay, so for example, I'm gonna make a example. So what the lower do, right? For example, if I have this one, right? If I have this one, what I get if I put the lower function is everything became a low string. Should be higher dot asu 18hze. So everything is getting lowered. So we're getting rid of the capital here, the capital here, the capital there, and then the capital here, and the DC there. So, and we do that because we want to find Samsung in the SKU name. So like for example, I have, let's copy this, I have Samsung, well, wait, why I can't, okay, so let's say I have Samsung Galaxy, but I can't just do, I cannot just search the Samsung Galaxy Note and then put it in Samsung. I can just make everything become a lower string, and then I'm just gonna find Samsung inside of each SKU ID, right, or SKU name. And let's put this percentage. So this percentage should be telling the program to, hey, search the word Samsung either the first word or the previous word, if that makes sense. So for example, if I have Samsung there, put it inside of this Galaxy between Galaxy and Note, I can find it. Okay, just find Samsung for me. So this is like, this percentage means this one, and this percentage means this one percentage in the previous word and in the after of my code, which is Samsung. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So let's do that. Then I'm gonna call it Samsung. So that's Samsung. Now let's do the Apple, Sony, Huawei, and Lenovo. Lower sd.sku name, like, put a percentage there, Apple. Now wait a second, hold on. If you look at the SKU name, Apple is not just Apple, it's also iPhone and MacBook. So we need to put the iPhone and MacBook within Apple. So we can do this when lower sd.sku name like percentage iPhone, and then when lower sd.sku name like MacBook, then then it's in the Apple column, Apple category. Okay, so we have 3 apples, so it has Apple, iPhone, and MacBook. Okay, so no, it is wrong. It should be or, not when. Okay, I'm sorry. So this should be or. So if the SKU name is Apple or iPhone or MacBook, let's call it just Apple. Let's put it in Apple category. Okay, so that's what happened basically. And then when the lower sd.sku name like what is next one, Sony, then let's call it Sony. When the lower sd.sku name like Huawei, then Huawei. And then finally the last category is lower sd.sku name like Lenovo. No, should be Huawei, not capital, and it should be like this. I'm always doing this because I don't know why it become a habit where if I have something similar, I'm just gonna doing it later instead of just doing it right then and now. Then let's call it Lenovo. Okay, so let's call okay, I want the other SKU name that are not Samsung, Apple, Sony, Huawei, or Lenovo. I'm just gonna call it other. Okay, now let's end this case as I will call it product name. So this is the product name. Okay. Now after getting the product name, I want to rank by transaction value, right? So what is the transaction value? Easy, we're doing that previously. So that is the OD of after discount. After discount as transaction value. Where the transaction is valid. Okay. And because we are using some function we need to aggregate by having group by, and we have to group by the product name. And so let's just copy all of this until case group by, and then let's paste it there, put it there. Okay, does this make sense? Now let's try to run this code. Okay, so now we have Samsung, other, Lenovo, Apple, Huawei, and Sony, right? But I want to get rid of the other, so because we already have this table, right, let's put it in a CTE. So I'm just gonna call it with let's say product sale, product sales as, and then put it inside bracket. There you go. There you go. Now let's select everything, right? Let's select everything from the product cell, and I want to get rid the other product, where product name is not other. Okay, because I want to have the product rank, I'm just going to have, I'm just gonna put ordered by transaction value, and we get the transaction value from here. We get transaction value from here, or in the CTE table you can get the transaction value here, because this is the transaction sales table, CTE table. Okay, so let's try to run this. And execute this. Now we get our okay, so I forgot the descending order. Should be descending order. And let's run this again. Now let's see, we have, so the best product in terms of transaction value is Samsung. It generates around 588 million in transaction value. And then the second product is the Apple product. So you have iPhone, you have MacBook, etc., etc. And then you have the Lenovo, and then Sony, and the last product is Huawei. Okay, so that is the last question. So we finished answering all of the 5 questions that our stakeholder asking us. Okay, now what I would like to do is to find the null and the duplicate value. So this is going to be a quick one because I already write the select program, the select code, and all you have to do is, for example, to find the null in payment detail table. So inside the payment detail, I'm just gonna show you this. Let's select everything from staging, payment detail. Then let's execute this. So inside the payment detail, we have two columns, and it's ID and the payment method. So all you have to do is to find the null value is to sum, and then case when the ID is null. Then if it's null, it's 1, and then else it's 0. It basically count down the amount of null, sum it up because it's already a number, and then if you have a null inside your table, you will know. So for example, if I run this, I have 0 0 ID null and then 0 payment method null, which means that there's no null data inside of my payment table. Okay, so you can do that on every single table. So here I have my customer detail table, and here is my SKU detail table. Now I found something interesting, and it is in the order detail. So let's select this, and it turns out we have one null value, and it's inside the discount amount, and it's only one. So we can figure it out what we're going to do with it later. Okay, but the other column has no null value, as you can see it right here. Now there is the null value. What about the duplicates? Well, the duplicates is similar. Like for example, let's have the SKU detail. Let's open the SKU detail. Select everything from SKU detail. Let's execute. Okay, now again you just have to select all of the column. So here I have ID, I have SKU name, I have best price, the cost, and the category, right? And then you only have to count everything, and count based on the column that you select, and make sure you select everything. Why? Because for example, if I have in ID like let's take a quick example. I have ID is 1, and then SKU name maybe like 80, right? And then the base price is 10,000, and then the cost is 6,000, and then the category is computing, maybe. But if I have for maybe the base price is different, like 9,000, it is already count as a duplicate. So you have to make sure that everything is different, every single column is different, because if it's not different, it's just another, if it's different, it's just another column, just another normal column, right? So you have to make sure that every single column is different. Like for example, we can have this column have the same value, but maybe we have a slight difference in the base price. Like for example, if this may be so this is 576,000, and maybe in the other column, another column, it has 60,000 as the base price, and the other one is the same. So that's why we want to make sure that every single column is different, and that's why we select every single column in order to find the duplicates. And if you run this, I'm actually not finding as any single duplicates in my data. And again, you can just copy this. This is quite simple. And yeah, that's it. That's the null and the duplicates. Okay, now before we get into the Power BI, I would like to just put everything together into just a single table. So as we know, we have previously we have 4 tables. We have the customer detail, we have reorder detail, we have the payment detail, and we have the SKU detail. Now I just want to put everything together that I think will be important in our Power BI dashboard. And so as you can see, I already write the query, because I think I already explained a lot of this, so for example, I would like to basically select everything from the order detail table, and this is what we have. We have everything from the order detail table, and as you can see, when we check the null value, we find there's one null inside of the discount amount. So I'm just gonna change it into 0, and the reason why is I just want to preserve the data type, and because the data type for the discount amount is integer, I just want to make sure that it is integer instead of just blank, right? And we only have one, so I think it's not really important anyway. And then we also need to take the cost of goods, the cost from the SKU details, and then from the payment details I want to get the payment method there. So in this particular line, the cost is from the SKU details and the payment method is from the payment details. Okay, and then I would like to remember in the previous questions, the stakeholder asking us to have a couple of brands, which is Samsung, Apple, Sony, Huawei, and Lenovo. And because of that, I think it's a good intention for us. It is a good intention for us, from us, to just provide the information for them. And this is why I also create a new column called brand that contain Samsung, Apple, Sony, Huawei, and Lenovo product. And then after all of that, I want to select all of this column, right? I want to select all of this column from all of this table into a new table. So this DB e-commerce is our database, and then DBO, and then our new table. So we are going to call this new table as e-commerce sales data. Okay, and I'm just going to execute this. There is an error. Staging order details. Oh, cut, take back. And oh yeah, you probably, cut, take back. And so let's choose the DB e-commerce, and let's just execute all of this. And let's see, we have complete. There's no issue with our execution. And let's take a look at the Object Explorer, and let's hit refresh, and let's see if we have the tables. Okay, now we have the tables. It takes a lot of time, well, not a lot of time, it takes a couple of time depending on the scale of your data. If you have a big data, of course you need to wait a little bit longer. Now we have our data that we want. We want to have a single table. Now let's get into the Power BI. So in the Power BI, let's choose blank reports, and then let's get the data, and I want to get the data from the SQL Server. Now here, remember when I told you to just save the server name in the very beginning of the SQL? This is where we're going to need our server name. So my server is, for example, is laptop slash e1v 2:53 am slash SQL express. So this is my server name, and we can just call it info. And you have other option. You can use advanced option, but I'm not gonna lie, there's a risk where you are using this, because maybe your data will be sometimes corrupted if you're using this. So I just always using just import the data just directly from the server. Okay, so let's click import. Okay, now we get our server connected with the Power BI. Now if you see, I have another database, my other project. Check in the GitHub. But we are interested in the DB e-commerce that we created. Now let's go to e-commerce sales data, which is the single table that contains everything that we want, that we just created. So, and then you can see we have the brand that we just created, and then you can just take a look a little bit, see if everything is good, and then you can just check the box, and then you can just load the data. Okay. Okay, so now we are in our Power BI with our data being connected. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to create a new table, and I'm just gonna call this measure table, and I'm gonna press load to load the table. Now inside of this measure table, okay, I can, so you can click the three dots, and you can create a new measure. So I always put all of my measurement inside of one table instead of in the original table. So first of all, let's calculate after discount. For example, after discount, so we have the sum of after discount. Okay, then let's click commit, and then now we have after discount calculation, the sum of the after discount. Now before we get any further into the measurement, before all of that, I want to get into the transform data, and I would like to have one more column. Okay, I'm just gonna put the column after the brand, so I'm just gonna go add column, right, and then I'm just going to have custom column. Now instead of this custom column, I want to give it a name called profit. Profit. Wait, okay, profit. So in the profit, I want to have the after discount. After discount, insert minus the cost, insert, multiply by the quantity. Where's the quantity? Insert. So this is will become our profit, right? So because profit is basically the the revenue minus the cost, right? So I'm just gonna click OK to get my profit, and then after that I'm going to go home and then click close and apply. Let's wait a second, and then okay, now I have the profit. Now what I would like to have is after discount, total customer, and then before discount, and then the total unit, and then I want to have the net profit, and then I would like to have the AOV. Okay, so let's create all of this metrics one by one. Let's create a new measure. So we already create after discount. Let's create before discount. So before discount is going to be the sum of the before discount. And let's click commit, and then let's create a new measure, and it's going to be total customer that we have, and it's going to be distinct distinct count, and I'm going to distinct count the customer ID. Okay, because one customer probably buy a multiple item, right? So I want to distinct the customer ID and then count the unique value of the customer ID. So and then let's click commit, and then let's see, yep, we have the total customer, and then let's create a new measure, and this new measure would be the total unit, and this is going to be the sum of the quantity order, the quantity the quantity order, and then let's commit, and then I would like to have new measure again, and it's going to be our AOV. So what is AOV? AOV is basically the sum of the before discount or the revenue divided by I need to close this one, the sum divided by, like that, by what? By the distinct count of the customer. Well, not customer, but the sales, the distinct count of the sales within a period of time. Okay, so that is the definition of AOV. And let's see if I made a mistake. I probably made a mistake here, like that. Yep. And let's click commit. Now I want to create a new measure again, so it's going to be the net, our net profit, and this is just the sum of the profit basically. Okay, let's click commit, and then we have all of those measurement. So for each measurement I want to have a KPI card, so let's use a card. Okay, let's use a card. So first of all, let's put the amount of after discount. So this is the amount of after discount. Let's make it bigger. Yep, so this is our after discount value, and I think this is too big, so let's make it smaller by going to visual like this, probably like, let's call it let's make it 30. Okay, so I have after discount, and now let's just copy this card, copy again, then copy again and again. Okay, so each card will have a different measurement. So this is after discount. Let's remove and then put before discount, and then I would like to have the total unit. After that I want to have the total customer, and then I need another one. Total customer, and then we have the net profit. Okay, so there's something wrong with our net profit. Let's see what happened with type of string. Profit, so there's a problem in our, okay, so the profit is in a string format, so we need to change it into whole number. Let's click yes. Okay, I'm glad that happened, because you probably getting into the same type of error, and by having that kind of problem I can show you how you can fix that problem. Okay, so I'm glad that happened. And then after the net profit I want to have the AOV, or average order value. Okay, now okay, so all of that is our measurement. Now let's get a slicer. I want to have a slicer, and this slicer I want to put the where is it, the date, the order date. Let's put it inside of the slicer, and now by doing this I can just choose the date. So for example, let's say I want to choose the 2022 January the 1st until the last records. So I have this, all of this value now. And then let's get another slicer, and let's put the category, probably, maybe the category. So let's put the category there, and maybe I would like to choose mobiles and tablets. Let's see. Okay, so as you can see, I can create a slicer to get some aspect of the sales, and then maybe I want to have another slicer. Let's get another slicer, and let's just put it here, maybe. Okay, and let's get is valid. So we are going to have two values, right? 0 and 1, and I would like to change the slicer style into tile, maybe. Yeah, so I can choose whether the transaction is valid or not. So for example, since the beginning of the year of 2022, I would like to see the measurement of the mobiles and tablet category that is valid. So we have okay, I'm gonna move this a little bit low. Okay, so we have this amount of after discount, and then this amount before discount, and then we have this amount of total unit, and then we have 72 customer with the net profit of 130 million, and then we have the average order value since the beginning of the year of 2022 until the last record, which is the 12th of August of 2022, right? Oh no, it's December 8th, not 12th August. So it's December 8th, 2022. So this is our report. And okay, so we actually pretty much settled, and after this, let's design the Power BI dashboard to make it more beautiful and engaging for the other team to use. Okay, so let's create the dashboard. So we already have all of this, but let's put a design on it. Okay, so you can go into insert and choose shape, and then choose the rounded rectangle, and then create something like this. Let's move this there, and then create something like this. Maybe, we don't know yet. Okay, so okay, let's move all of this value there, and then let's put this right here. Maybe something like this. Okay, so now let's select all of this value and then put it there. Now, of course, it's on the back. So after that, let's copy this shape by select the shape and then press Ctrl C and then Ctrl V. Okay, let's put it below, right below that shape, and then make it bigger. Maybe like that, and then we can go into format shape, we go to style, then do border. I don't know about the border. Fill. No, let's go to shape first. So the round corner should be not that big. So let's do 5 maybe. So let's do 5. Okay, now for all of this slicer, I want to move the slicer here, there, for now. And then again, let's copy the shape, copy, and then let's put this in here, maybe in here, a little bit below, and then let's do something like this. Okay, I guess this is good. Now let's arrange this. Okay, so now I want to have the slicer teeth something over like, put it like this, and I want to have this this control over there, so I'm gonna keep it like that, and then put it there, and then let's make it a little bit smaller. Okay, and then here let's go to visualization, and then go to maybe not value, maybe the value, no, not the value, but we go to slider, and well, I don't know, I want to change the slider, so let's go to the header, and I want to change the header into just order date with capital, and then let's make it, or maybe I don't want the header. Let's just turn off the header and then put the title instead of the header, instead of the arrow. So let's order date, so it's going to be order date, and make it smaller, maybe 12 is enough, and then put it in the middle like that. Okay, so we also want to change this in change the shape, and the round should be probably 10 or maybe 5, the same as this one. Okay, so now that we get all of that, I need a button. So you can go to insert and then click the button, and then you can choose the blank button, and then let's put it here, put the button here. Let's make it the same shape as this slicer order, and then maybe, okay, let's modify the shape first, and let's put some rounded corners into 5 pixel, something like that, and then we can go into style. So in the default, let's put text, and I want to have the text of filter, and let's make it 20, and then I want to have something blue, maybe yeah, something blue like that, but we can you know, adjust all of this later. And let's put a fill here, and let's put the color of, I don't know, yellow, a bright yellow, and then the border, I don't know if I want to have the border may be also blue. How about that? Okay, so now that is in the state of default. So let's change into on hover. So when I hover this text, I want the text to be yellow while the fill is blue, and then the border should be yellow. Okay, I'm just gonna show you how to do this. You can adjust this color by yourself, and of course, so when we hover into the filter, you can see it's no, it's not general shape, the style, hover on the text, and then so turn on the action. So it's going to be like this. So now you can create something like a button, like an actual button, but I don't know about the color. So let's just turn off the fill on hover. Or maybe not turn off the fill, but let's just make it white like that. Yeah, kind of like that. Okay, and then after that, I want to create a shape, another shape, or maybe I can just copy it from theirs, and then let's copy and then paste, and then I'm going to create something like this shape, something like this, round, like something like that. Okay, so and then make it white. Okay, now after that I want to go to selection. If you don't have selection here, you can go to view and then select the selection. So if I unselect the selection, I don't have selection, but when I select the selection, I have the selection. The same thing with bookmark, because we are going to need it, so you can select the bookmark. Okay, now I want to have all of the shape. So this shape, let's name this particular shape as filter background, and then what is this, where it is shape. Okay, so let's move down all of the shape, move all the way down so that the slicer can going up, and also the filter background should be at the top. Okay, so now let's put the cards, no, not the card, but the slicer. I have a couple of slicer here. So the first slicer is this one, so I'm gonna put it here. Okay, I'm just playing around right now, and let's change it into drop down, and then this one I'm going to also change it into drop down, and then the filter background should be below all of the slicer, so that we can see the slicer, and then the background of the slicer is in the back of the slicer or in the back of the filter. Okay, so okay, let's make it bigger real quick, because we are going to add a lot of slicer here. Okay, so now let's just copy this category and put it around here, and then paste it again and put it around here, paste it again, put it maybe here. I still don't know about the arrangement yet, but let's change all of this. So this one is the category slicer, right? Now I want to put, so this one should be okay. So let's close the selection, and then I want to have, let's go to brand. So this is category, and this should be brand. So I have slicer brand, and then for this one let's have the SKU name, right? And then for this one I would have the payment method, and then let's copy again, put it something like that, and then I want to have the customer ID. Okay, I guess that's it. We have, so we have category, we have brand, we have SKU name, we have payment method, and we have the customer ID. And then let's change the name, or maybe not name, slicer header should be customer. So let's change it to title, should be customer. Customer ID, put it in the middle, and then this one is payment method. Put it in the middle like that, and then this should be SKU name. Well, no, then put it in the middle again. So this one should be brand, like that. And then we have the category, call it category. And then let's go here, select all of this, and then turn off the slicer header. And there you go, we have, well, it's valid. So let's change the, so turn off the slicer header, and then let's name it status, and then put it in the middle again. Okay, so now we have all of the slicer inside one shape, inside one place. And then I want to have another button, so let's insert button. Let's take blank and let's put it here. and then we can go to format button, style, and the text should be close, and it's supposed to be red. Where's red? This red, maybe. Well, it's not on who, but on default. So okay, close, little bit pink, maybe that kind of red. Okay, so put 20 font, then let's change it to 10. Okay, so we have the close button, and also I wanted to have something similar, but it's clear button. So it's clear button like that, and then maybe I want to change the color of the and let's make it red, just red, a big red. Okay, and then let's go to shape and let's put 10 rounded, and then this one is also 10. Okay, so this one is the close button, and this one is the clear button, and the close button should be, maybe we should give the close button a black color instead of clear color. Okay, so maybe something like this would do. Okay, so we have close and we have clear button. So what do I want to do? Okay, now I want to have another button and create a blank button, and then I'm gonna put the button here and something like that, and then I want to call it filter page. Make it 20, 25. Okay, let's make it bigger, and of course I want to change the position, and let's make it bigger. And put it there. So we have something. So the filter page, I should remove the border. Let's remove the border and then just do something like this. Is this good enough? I mean, we can change it later if we're not liking it. Okay, so we have a filter. Now what I want to do is go to selection, let's close this format shape and make sure this button, all of this. Okay, so let's select all of this, everything inside the filter background, so all of this, and then we can right click and then group all of it together, and then let's call it filter group. Okay, so now we have filter group. If we hide the filter group, we will not see it, but what we want to do is once we click this button, it will show the filter page. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So how can we do that? We can use bookmarks and then let's close the data and then let's add bookmarks. So first, this bookmark is show filter, and then let's add another bookmark. It's going to be hide filter. Okay, so in show filter, show the filter group. Okay, and then click the filter group and then click in the show filter and then select update. But okay, so we want to uncheck the data and then select update. Okay, and then we go into hide filter and then we make sure that the filter is hiding, and then we go here, we uncheck the data and then make sure the filter is selected and then click update. So I hope that's right. Now if we go to filter, I want to have the action, and the action should be from bookmarks, and the bookmarks is the show filter. So when I click the filter, I should show the filter like that. Now we showing the filter, but how can we close the filter? Well, we are using this button. Select the button, the close button. Inside, is it here? Wait, this. Okay, so let's click. So this one is clear. So let's name all of the button. This one is clear. This one is title, and this one is the close button. Close. Now in close, I want to have an action, and the action is from the bookmark, and the bookmark is the hide the filter. So if I click, it's hide the filter. If I click the filter, I show the filter, and if I click close, I close the filter. So that's what we want. Okay, now we have the filter page, and the last thing I want to do is going to clear and turn off the action, and the type is clear all slicer. Okay, so like for example, if maybe we choose, okay, let's close all of this first. So for example, if we choose maybe apply books and then health sport, and then let's pick the payment method of this, and then our clear. Okay, something wrong here. This button should clear all of it. Okay, now we have a problem there, and it's inside the style. When we hover, it say close instead of clear, so let's change it into clear. And then when we hover also, let's make the fill button becomes red. When we change the color into white when we hover over it, so make it something like, oh, it's dangerous. Okay, now we have all of the button, so let's close this one, and then let's change the shape. Okay, let's make all of this card smaller. Let's go to visual, and then let's go to general property, and then let's have maybe 100, and then this maybe 120, something like that. And then let's just arrange all of this value. Again, we are not we just doing the most bare bone design here, the most basic design that we are doing here. And then let's change the color of the shape, all of the color of the shape, into something white. The format, shape, the style, color is white, but we are going to add some effect. Let's add a shadow, and maybe visual border. I don't know if I want it. No. So yeah, visual border, but it's going to be white, and the round should be 10, around 10 maybe. Should be 10. And then we go to shape, and then we go to style. Well, not style, but shape first. Maybe let's make it 10. Just make it all the way 10. Okay, now we have something like this. What I'll do next is I want to select, not select, let's put the data, shall we? So I want to have line charts, and I want to be something this big for my line chart. And inside of the line chart, I want to have, okay, we are going to make this dashboard for the marketing team, right? And so because we are going to do that, it makes sense to have after discount as the y-axis, and then it is also makes sense to have the order date, but let's choose the year and the month for the order date. Now for the multiples, I want to have the category, maybe the category. Okay, so I want to have maybe the category. I don't know if we should do the category or the brand, but let's start with category. Okay, so there's that. And so let's change into something. Okay, we can do that later. We can go to grid line and then turn off the grid line in both of vertical and horizontal, and then we can go to x-axis and then turning off the title of the x-axis, and then we go to y-axis and then also turning off the title of the y-axis. And then let's create, okay, let's just copy this one and move it below, right below it. But now I want to change it into 100% stack area. So now we have our basic. And okay, so this one I also wants to let's go to first visual. we need the legend, but we don't need the where is it? We don't need a title. So we also don't want this to be, so this one is the sales, right? The after discount. This is the, so this one is the revenue. What I want for this one is the quantity, the amount of order. So let's change it into quantity order. So we have something like that, and then we can go up here, change the title into something like revenue and quantity shares, category product, revenue, quantity shares. So this title is not just for this one but also for this one, right? And then let's make it 20, put it in the middle. Okay, maybe 20 is too big, let's make it 18. Okay, so now we have all of that. So after that I want to have stack bar chart, and let's put it here, something like that, and then copy and then paste it, and let's put something right there. Okay, so for this one I want to have the count, the quantity order in the in the x-axis, and then I want to have the brand on the y-axis. And for this one I want to have also the quantity, but this one is the payment method. I want to have the payment method as the y-axis. Now let's select both of them, and then let's hide the title of the y-axis and then the x-axis. Oh, it's already hide this one, so let's hide it, and then let's change the title into total brand order, and let's put it in the middle. Wait, like that, and then we also need to change this one into payment method quantity, put it in the middle. Now for this particular payment method maybe I want something like top 5. So you can go to filter, no, you can go to view, you can go to filters, and then filter the payment method into the top n, and the top n is to be, I want to show the top 5 by the amount of order. Let's apply the filter, and then we only have the top 5 here. Okay, now let's hide the filter, and let's hide the bookmarks, and then let's finally, well, not file, let's go to home well, not home, but insert. Let's go to shape, then yeah, let's go to shape, and then again we get another shape, and this one I want to have I want to use this shape as a title. Sales, no, it's e-commerce sales. Make it bigger, maybe 20. Let's make it bold, 25 maybe, 25. E-commerce sales, like that. And let's copy this. Well, not yet, but I want to fill the color into, make it white, and the text is black, something like this. And then I want to turn off the border, okay, something like that. And also I want to have another, so let's just copy this, another title, and it's going to be marketing team. And let's make it smaller, maybe 18. Well, 18, maybe 20. Yep, around something like that. And then let's, for this one, let's make it transparent, so we can put it right behind, below the e-commerce sales. Maybe we should make it bigger, or make it a little bit. Okay, so let's do something like this and make it this one a little bit in the middle. Okay, so this, okay, so now we get our dashboard. This is a simple dashboard, but it does the job, and that's what's important. So for example, let's go to filter page. Oh, we made a mistake here. We should put the filter page above everything else. So let's go to filter, let's go to selection. You can go to selection and then move filter group at the top and put it at the top, so that the filter page should be in front. Okay, so let's try to close, and then let's try to open, and it's in front of your face. Now let's see, in the previously the marketing team asking us about everything from the valid transaction. They asking from the valid, from valid is valid transaction, and then for the brand they want to know the Samsung, Sony, Lenovo, and Apple. Okay, so let's try to close, and we can see, we can do the analysis, something like this. And then maybe you can see if there's something wrong with your data, or is there something wrong with the sales. Let's open the filter, and then you can, after you do the simple analysis, you can just clear everything else. And then again you can select the status into one, which is the valid status, and then you can close. And as you can see, there's something big, or not big, but there's something wrong about this this revenue shares, because for some reason the mobiles and tablet dominates the sales. And you can see clearly that the domination is 90+%, like 90% of the sales amount is going in the mobiles and tablet. It generates 500 million from it. And you can see another spike, like for example the spike in March. So let's zoom in on March, for example, to see another spike that going on. But when you see what's going on in March, the distribution is pretty, it's not that bad. The distribution is quite balanced. So you can do some analyze using this dashboard, and you can make it better. You can tweak the design, you can just change the design, or maybe you can change the value of all of this category, method, total brand order. You can do whatever you want with it. And so yeah, that's the Power BI part. Okay, so I edit my Power BI dashboard a little bit just to make it bigger down to bottom. If you want to know how, you can just click the canvas and then go to this part and then go to canvas setting, and I customize the type of the canvas into the height of 1040 pixel, and then the width is 1280 pixel. I'm just making it bigger down to bottom, bigger vertically. And then I am just, instead of using top 5, I'm just gonna show it all, the payment method, the quantity, and the brand order is at the bottom. But what I actually want to do is I just want to add this profit line, because there's something interesting here. Even though in this revenue we generate a lot of revenue from in September from the mobiles and tablet, but the profit itself is not that big compared to the April, which is it is pretty small spike compared to September. And if we see here, July is also an interesting case. So if we zoom in at July, and let's zoom in here, something like that, okay, even though we have a spike in July, the profit is pretty the profit is equally shared. Okay, so there's no product that just carrying those months, which is completely different from September. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just changing the dashboard a little bit, just to add the profit here, just to see how much we generate. Because this is for the marketing team, the marketing team doesn't really care about the profit. They only care about the amount of data, the amount of product they sold, they give to the customer, right? The profit is for the finance team. This is something that this is not something the marketing team should be focusing on, but I just want to put it here for our analysis. Okay, so that's why. Okay, we back in the SQL Server, and the reason why is because I want to create another data so that we can use in our segmentation machine learning, in our segment to create our customer segmentation using machine learning. And the data that I need is customer ID, total spend, which is the sum of the revenue, or the total of after discount, which is our revenue, and then the total unit, the range between the register and the first day order, and the range of the first and the last day of order, basically of order. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So let's just start to write the select function. So should I start with CTE? Okay, I'm just gonna make you confused. So let's just start with select first. So let's select, because we are going to get the customer ID. I would like to go well, not customer ID, but the register date, and this register date is inside the customer detail. So I would like to have from e-commerce first. So it's e-commerce sales data, and let's call it SD as sales data, and then I would like to have left join with staging customer detail, and let's call it CD on the SD dot customer ID, and CD dot is on the CD dot ID. Okay, so let's take everything that we need. So it's going to be SD of customer ID, and then we have CD, which is the register date. I also want to have SD dot order date, SD dot quantity order, and finally SD dot after discount, which is our revenue. Okay, so let's, and also we almost forgot about the the SD dot is valid, and we only want the valid data. So let's try to run this, and now we have our data. Okay, so now let's put all of this inside a CTE, and let's call it, say, selected data s, and then let's put inside bracket, and now we can do select customer ID, and it's going to be from selected data, like that, right? Now I would like to have the difference range of date between the register, the day the customer register into our system, and the first day they order. Okay, so we can see like whether this customer, like, they register the first day and then immediately order something from us, or they just register and then leave their account for a couple of days and then go back and then finally order something. So I want to have that inside of our customer segmentation. Now, in order to get that value, I will have to use the date diff function to see the difference date, and it's going to be day. So I would like to see how many days difference, and you can how many month or how many year difference, but I would like to have for now it's going to be day. and this is going to be the minus of registered data. And then the first time they order the data, of course, order date, and let's call it registered to order. Register to order. Now you're probably wondering, why are we registered data, not registered. Okay, so this will be registered data, not data. So you're probably wondering, why am I using the min inside of this registered date? And even though we know that inside of this registered date it's just one value, there's no way it has another value based on each customer, right? But it just to make sure that the SQL Server know what it took from, and that's it. It's just like a validation for the SQL Server, nothing more. And then we also want to have that div, and it's going to be day, and it's going to be the min of the first order date, and the last order, and let's call it first to last order. Okay, and now of course I want to have the total amount of unit, the customer order, and it's going to be total unit. And finally I would like to have the amount of money they spend on us, and it's going to be after discount, which is the revenue that we have, and it's going to be total spend. And since we are using aggregation, we should do a group by, and it's going to be customer ID. Okay, so now we have all of this. Let's try to run this. Let's see if this is work. And okay, now you can see there's something wrong with the data, and that is we have the register order and it has a negative value in it. So it means that there's a certain customer, they order first and then they register. So that's clearly what's happened. And okay, so the question is, what are we going to do with it, right? How can we interpret this this negative number? Okay, so I would like to use k-means as my machine learning model. And if you don't know what k-means is, it is a popular unsupervised machine learning algorithm used for partitioning a data set into a predefined number of clusters. The main objective of k-means clustering is to partition your data into a specific numbers. Sometimes it's k or sometimes it's n of groups, where data points within each group are similar and dissimilar to points in other groups. It achieves this by minimizing the distance between data points and their assigned clusters centers called the centroid. Okay, so now that we are inside Google Colab, I'm just gonna make it bigger. So now we are inside Google Colab. The plan is we are going to use a machine learning model called k-means in order to get the clustering for our customer segmentation. So okay, let's change the title and let's call it machine learning model, maybe ML model, let's say that. And then we need to import our data, and you can just click this folder and then you can just go to your file. So this is the ML data that we already extract, and you can just drag into these files, and you can just click OK, and then now you have your machine learning data inside Google Colab. Now let's I'm going to click these 3 dots in order to copy the path. So I'm going to click that, and then we go back in our Google Colab. Now first of all, I'm going to import everything that I need. So first I'm going to import pandas as pd, and then I'm going to import matplotlib.pyplot as plt, and then I'm going to have import seaborn as SNS for our visualization, and then for our machine learning we are going to import from sklearn import. Now from sklearn we need a processing import, and we're going to use standard scalar. And then I'm going to have from matplotlib.pyplot import k-means. Well, not pyplot, why is it pyplot? But cluster mat sklearn, so it's sklearn cluster k-means. So let's try to run this. Okay, so we have everything that we need. So now let's load the data. Okay, so first of all I'm going to name the data as df, which stands for data frame, and I can just do pd.read.excel because we have Excel data. If you have a CSV data, you can just do read CSV like this, but we are going to use Excel. And let's just paste our data, the data path. So you have to copy the data path, not just the data. Okay. And then let's take a look at the data itself, and we can just look the first 5 rows of the data by using df.head. Then let's click run, and as you can see, this is our data that we created. Now first of all, as you can see, we have the minus and the plus value here, the negative and the positive value, and this happened because this is just the nature of our data. And so in order to do this, we actually need to separate the data, and the reason why is because when we are using k-means model, so it doesn't it's just a bad practice if we are using this much value within our model, and this could ruin the k-means model, the model that we are going to create. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to create a separate data, which is the register after, well, not after, but the order after the register, and then the order before the register. Does that make sense? Okay, does that make sense? So okay, I'm just gonna create let's call it group register first. So register first and then order, and it's going to be df dot normal. I'm going to call it that, which is the normal, which is you have to register first and then order from our e-commerce, right? And then I'm going to have df, which is our data frame, and then df again to get the register to order. So we are going to select all the column of the register order, and if this register order is more than equal to 0, I'm just going to copy the data. Okay, so I'm going to copy the data because I want to preserve the originality of this data. So I don't want to, messing up with the original data, so I'm just going to use copy. And the second group is going to be registration, and then I'm going to call it df underscore pre-register. Okay, and we can do the same thing. We can just copy it, but now instead of more than, it's going to be less than the register to order. Okay, and then let's try to print the normal, not data, but normal customer. I'm just going to print how many the customer that we have that are actually register first and then order, and how many people who order first and then register. Okay, if that makes sense. So it's going to be df normal dot shape, and I'm going to take the 0th index. Okay, and then print the pre-registered customer. And okay, so it's going to be like this. Make a comma, make a space, df underscore pre-register dot shape on the 0th index, and let's try to run this. Okay, so now we are getting the values. So it turns out we have almost 2,000 normal customer, which is the customer that they register first and then they order from us. And now we also have 880 amount of customer that order first and then register later. Okay, so now that we have a separate data, I would like to create the features. So the features that we are going to have for our model is going to be, first it's going to be register, where this feature is equal to, so it's going to be register to order, and then first to last order, and then oh my god, total unit, and finally we have total spend. And so we basically remove the customer ID because we don't need customer ID. We only need customer ID for our join table later, right? So that's going, so this 4 is going to be our features. Okay, so let's run this, and now we are going to do something called standardization. And if you don't know what standardization is, it is basically limit the range of the data so that it has the mean of 0 and the what you call it, the standard deviation of 1. So you probably heard, so standard deviation is going to be limit the data range into mean 0 and standard deviation 1. Mean equal 1, and then mean is equal to 0 and standard deviation is equal 1. Maybe you ever heard something called normalization. So normalization is different from standardization, because normalization, it just limit the data range between 0 and 1. Okay, so in this case we are going to use standardization, and we can create scalar normal and call the function called standard scalar, and we are going to have let's call it x normal scale, and inside of this normal scale, this is not what I wanted. So x normal dot scale is going to be scalar underscore normal dot fit underscore transform, and we are going to transform the normal data, and we are going to transform the features like that. Okay, so we are going to create all of this value into this value, okay, which is standardization. And now I want to have scalar for pre-register, and it's going to be standard scalar is equal to x pre-scaled, and it's going to be scalar underscore pro dot fit underscore transform, not pro but pre-registered fit transform, and then df underscore pre-registered, and then input the features column, and then we can just try to run this. Okay, we have an error here. Have no attribute fit transform fit underscore transform scalar. Okay, so minor spelling mistake is transform, not transform. Okay, so then finally we can actually train the model. So we are going to use k-means, and it's going to be k-means and the amount of cluster that we want to have. So I would like to have 3 category or 3 cluster or 3 segment within our data. So I'm just gonna say the n of cluster is going to be 3, okay, and then the f normal is equal to k means dot fit underscore predict x normal scale. Let's make it k means. And so it's gonna be a fit underscore predict. Then let's run this one, and then we also need to train the pre register, so it's gonna be pre, and I would like to have also 3 cluster, and then I would like to have k-means underscore pre, and inside of this is actually x prescale. Oh yeah, I forgot, I should have done this. So I should put a random state, and my random state is going to be 42, so that you can follow along, follow the amount of value that we would have, and then let's just run all of this. Okay, we have a error in this because it's df.normal, not df pre register. So let's run this. Okay, now after that we are going to have a summary of the data of the model. So first of all, I would like to have cluster underscore summary is equal to the data is going to be df underscore normal, and then I would like to group by I'm just gonna put it here, group by, I would like to group by cluster of the features like that, and then I would like to have the mean, and I would like to have the data being rounded. So let's see the cluster summary, and let's run this. Okay, now we have this data, this cluster. So the first cluster, which is in the 0 index, we have the register to order and the mean value of the register of the order. So the mean value of the first cluster is 78, and the first to last order is around 3 days, so 2.5 days, with the total unit of less than 2 units, and it's going to be around 8 million. Yeah, 8 million, I guess. It's gonna be around 8 million. Okay, now that is the normal customer, and let's do the same thing with our pre-registered customer. And here we should have okay, so let's df, so it should be pre-register now instead of the normal, and then let's take a look, and as you can see, we have exactly what we need, because everyone in this pre-registered data has a negative value in the register to order, right? Because they order first and then they register, and then the first to last order we in the first cluster, or in the 0th index cluster, we have around 70 days, and we have 471, we have 40 days right there. Okay, but now instead of looking at this data like this, I would like to have something called mapping, which is just I'm going to map. So after thinking about it, I think this is how my mapping is going to be. So the first cluster is going to be normal but low engagement, and that's because, okay, I'm just gonna close this cluster, and I'm just gonna, okay. Wait, where is it? Okay, now, so my first normal but low engagement is in the cluster 0, because we have normal but it doesn't really have the engagement, and then we have a highly extreme high volume, because the amount of unit that this people buy inside of this cluster in the index 1, and then the loyal high value customer, because they spend a lot of time with us. They spend 220 days with us from the first order to last order, and the total unit they buy is not that bad, and the total spend that they also spend is not also that bad. So that is my interpretation of the data, and this is going to be my cluster. And if you want to know what kind of cluster, what kind of data it would be, so it's going to be something like normal. It's going to be something like this. Okay, so in the 0th cluster, I would have the segment, and it's normal but low engagement, and then, for example, this one is cluster number 2, which is loyal high value customer. Okay, so that's the mapping. Okay, so, and for the mapping of the pre-register, I would like to have the same thing, but then of course just change the data frame into the pre-register, and then we can just run this. And now let's visualize the data, and we are going to use SSMS scatter plot, and inside the scatter plot the data would be df the normal first, and I will have the x equal the x-axis as equal to total spend. The y is going to be total unit. The hue is going to be segment, and let's add a palette, and it's going to be let's use tab 0 for now, and let's try to visualize this data. And as you can see, this is our customer segmentation for the normal registration. Okay, so we have the blue dot, which is the normal but low engagement, and then we have the orange dot, which is loyal high value customer, and the last thing we have is green dot, which is extreme high volume customer, and it's clearly such an extreme case, of course, right? And then okay, so that is for the normal dataset, and let's copy this and then do the same thing with the register data, and it's going to be basically the same thing, but we have different data. And as you can see in this data, we have we see a different kind of behavior from people who who register first and then buy the product compared to those who buy the product first and then register later. Okay, so this is a very important information to us, right? Okay, so now after we do all of that, I would like to just combine the data. So okay, I'm going to combine the data, and it's going to be so df.normal. I'm going to take the okay, I'm going to make it bigger. Okay, so I'm going to combine the data, and then I'm just going to take the segment. Okay, I'm going to create a new column. Okay, a new column, and it's going to be called segment type. And this segment type, instead of this segment type, I'm going to call it normal. And then for the df pre-register, I will have to have the same name of the column, which is segment type underscore type, and I will have as pre-register. Okay, and okay, let's try to run this, and let's try to open the data of, let's do 5. Okay, so now I have a segment type right here, and because I'm opening the normal data, every value inside of this normal segment type will be normal. And if I open the pre-registered data, I would have the pre-registered segment type inside here. So we have our data, and we have our label, basically the segment type label. Now let's just combine this data into one data, and it's going to be df, let's call it df segmented, and it's going to be concat. So I'm just gonna put the data together, that's it. And I can track which one is which because I already have the segment type. So it's going to be df normal and df pre-register. Okay, and I think I can run this. Should be. And let's try to take a look at the df segmented head. Okay, so now I have the segment type, which is so this is going the normal value, right? And now I would like to have the tail of this data, and it would show me the last 5 of the data, which is the pre-register. So what happened is, in this concat, I'm just gonna stack the data, the normal data and the pre-registered data, and so the normal data would be above the pre-registered data. Okay, so now we have the df segmented. Let's save the data. Data, and I'm going to save df segmented to Excel because I want to save it to Excel, and let's call it customer segment dot xl sx, and I want to remove the index, and so let's make the index as false, and let's run this data, and it's already running. And you can go back and open the files, and you can see your Excel file here. which is the saved data that we just created here. Okay, and now you can just click these three dots and then just download the data. And now you can just go to these three dots and then you can just download the data, and now we can use this data as our analysis. Alright, now finally we've come to the reports of our analysis. So I'm creating this report in my GitHub account, and of course you can access it. I'm gonna put the link in the description, so I'm just gonna read it for you guys. So first of all, I have my TechSquare e-commerce analysis, and TechSquare is a US-based e-commerce company that sells popular consumer electronics and accessories. Established in 2018, the company has grown and expanded in the last few years. It has encountered increasing competition from peer companies as well as unique challenges and opportunities. TechSquare's book of business in 2021 until 2022 is approaching 3,998 customers and possesses over 5,885 transactions, generating successful transaction revenue exceeding $1 billion. The available e-commerce data spans various dimensions and metrics, including sales, product, transaction status, and payment method. Reporting and answering questions, the marketing and finance team. An in-depth analysis was conducted to evaluate TechSquare performance over the past several years in 2021 until 2022. This comprehensive review provides valuable insight that internal cross-functional teams will utilize to streamline process and enhance TechSquare commercial performance. The key insight and recommendation focus on the following area: the sales trend, focusing on the key metrics of sales value, number of order placed, and average order values, and then product performance, analyzing different product lines, payment method, and transaction value. And then the loyalty program evaluation, evaluating an effectiveness of the company discount program and providing recommendation to maximize customer engagement. And then as you can see, this is the EDE, or the diagram of the data that I've shown you earlier. Now we come to the table of content. The table of content has executive summary, inside deep dive, and it's going to be sales trend, average order value, order count, and then the product category performance. And then we have customer behaviors, answers to stakeholder questions, and the recommendation. Now we come to the executive summary. First of all, the revenue growth and the peak performance. 2022 was the strongest year, with influential transaction performance caused by a high demand in April, January, and October. The Q2 of 2022, or the quarter 2 of 2022, saw the highest revenue, which is 1.29 billion in May of 2022, making it the best performing period. In December 2021 until March 2022, we have $420 million of profit. Also maintain strong sales after peak in sales in November 2021, which is $420 million in profit. And then the fluctuative trend in 2022. A sales anomaly and significant fluctuation occurred in 2022, particularly in Q2 until Q4, with April that generates $260 million in revenue, July that generates $202 million, and the September for the $54 million, marking the highest profit month. The Q3 and Q4 revenue decline suggests a major downturn, likely caused by external market conditions, reduced customer consumer demand, or internal operational shifts. The Q4 profit uprising suggests a major brand of new product being released, being of the amount of mobile and tablets which is 1024 units being ordered. In April, there's a big gap between profit and revenue, likely caused by a woman fashion with 172 out of 526 total units being sold. While most products almost equally contributed in July, with Sogat, mobile and tablets, and Superstars as the highest unit being sold. And now we have key takeaways and recommendation, and that is investigate the cause of the 2022 fluctuation, the market change, the new band product, or the internal factors. Leverage high performing periods, like for example Q4 of both years, to refine marketing and sales strategies. And then reassess business strategy for 2023, focusing on pricing, promotion, discount, and customer engagement to regain momentum. And then we go to insight deep dive. Now, in the sales trend, in the sales profit, we have a high fluctuation in Q2 until Q4 in 2022, a major sales anomaly. In Q2, April until June became the strongest quarter with $333 million. However, in this period, the sales was heavily carried by April sales. In June, sales started to become normal. October until November 2022, sales profit was $33 million, while the previous years it is around $188 million. This represents 80 to 85% drop from the last year, which is 2021. It should be noted that October until November was the best period during 2021, while in 2022 it became the worst 2 months in terms of sales. The declining growth throughout 2022 indicating weak consumer demand. Each quarter in 2022 experienced a fluctuative trend. In Q1, started fairly strong with $63 million in January, around 400% higher than 2021. In Q2 until Q3, a big sales in April, July, and September, but after that, the sale always dropped down into its normal state. This suggests customer product-based issue. TechSquare may need to strategize through making deals with the company product to reduce the amount of cost and gaining exclusive pricing. And then in Q4, the worst of 2022, with only $14 million in October and keep declining into $12 million in November. And then for the average order value generally stable at low baseline from January and 2021 to mid 2022. AOV, or the average order value, stayed flat with small fluctuation. In April 2022 has the highest AOV growth within this period of time, peaking at $1.1 million. Meanwhile, in April 2021 has the lowest AOV growth with only $425,000. In 2022, the AOV is higher and relatively more volatile compared to the previous year, with excluding the anomaly month of September that has I'm excluding the anomaly month, which is the September, and by excluding that month, the 2022 of AOV has $861,000, which is better than 2021 that only generates $660,000. In September, makes the AOV of 2022 becomes 1.9 million. The AOV collapses after this period. This is a risk, not a win. So, in AOV, decline in October 2022 indicates anomaly. From peak of around $7.6 million in September, AOV steadily dropped to around $795,000 in October, which is 89% drop. In August, the AOV is around $886,000. This suggests that without October being an anomaly, the AOV growth the AOV growth will be more stable. The new normal is form that is not scalable, retained, and did not reshape the purchasing pattern. And then for the order count, from mid-2021 to mid-2022, the quantity of units being sold shows a clear upward trajectory. With peaks gets high every time, this indicates a demand growth, expansion, and aggressive sales push, but still have a sudden drop in every rises. The total order risen up by 46% from 2021 to 2022. The sales gradually decline starts in April 2022, getting interrupted by anomaly period in September of 2022. And then our revenue is volume driven, but our profit is event driven. So the high sales period did not consistently generate profit, indicating pricing and cost inconsistency. Inefficiency. And then for the product category performance, the best and worst is, so the mobiles and tablets category has a low performance sales over, but in September 2022, the amount of customer buying this category of product, making it number one with totaling $1.3 billion, generating the highest revenue and its best performance at September 2022 with $528 million as its revenue dollar. Okay, I should have read the million here. Almost 50% of the total revenue. Even though it's the best in terms of total revenue, it's lacking in terms of longevity. The second and the third performance, best performing product in terms of sales are the appliance with $538 million in total, and the appliance is $601 million in total. The appliance category is the most well balanced in terms of sales and quantity order. If an anomaly in September 2022 doesn't happen, the appliance is the best product category. And then we have the book category that generate $70 million in total, had extremely low sales compared to the other product category. And despite being an anomaly during April 2022, the women fashion gained the highest profit, which is $143 million, and 32.7% of the customer are buying this product category. And then for the AOV over time, the mobiles and tablets has $5.15 million, the entertainment have $2.78 million, and the appliance has $2.45 million, are the biggest contributors to AOV. The superstore category has relatively low price points. They are stable but do not significantly impact the AOV, which has $268.7 thousand. The brand performance. Okay, so this part are based on marketing team questions regarding particular brand. Samsung, Apple, Huawei, Lenovo, and Sony. So I exclude every product without those brands. So the Samsung brand has consistently strong sales year over year, totaling $588 million in dollar, and it is the highest revenue generating product overall. The second and the third best performance product in terms of sales are Apple's and Lenovo. Apple's, Samsung, and Huawei are the biggest contributors to the AOV. And then for the customer behavior, with 1,000 984 customer with normal purchase, which is register first and then order, and 880 pre-register customer, which is order first and then register. Customer segmentation is designed to reflect intrinsic purchasing behavior. Product attributes such as brand and category are analyzed post-clustering to interpret and activate each segment. Revenue growth is driven by episodic high-value event rather than sustained customer activity. Loyal normal customers are declining, while the pre-registered customers show a high potential but inconsistent engagement. This indicates a strong upside with weak retention fundamentals. For the normal customer, the loyal high-value customer activity starts in mid-2021, peaks around September 2021, until January 2022, with the total revenue of $716 million. Units and revenue move together after mid-2022, and both collapse toward near zero. Normal but low engagement segment customer has a very low activity in early 2021 and then a sharp growth mid-2021 with $27 million in revenue. Several spiky peaks in both units and revenue, and the revenue itself sometimes spikes, sometimes exceed the unit growth. This means the purchases are campaign driven, not habitual. And then for the pre-registered customers, an extreme high volume segment has one very sharp revenue spike in April 2022 with $337 million in revenue, a likely bulk or wholesale type behavior. That spike is probably one large order, one special event, or maybe one major customer. The loyal high value has almost flat for a long time, then one massive revenue spike with a minimal unit increase caused by $570 million in revenue. And then the normal but low engagement customers, showing us that the pre-registration does not guarantee activation. Behavior mirrors low engagement normal customers. And then for the brand AOV distribution, the normal customer contribute most of the transaction volume through a repeated low engagement purchases, providing operational stability, while the pre-registered customer, while fewer in volume, are more likely to generate high impact purchases and bulk behavior. This creates a trade-off between stability and upside that requires different engagement strategies per segment. And then I have the answer for the stakeholder questions, which is in 2021, in which month was the highest total transaction value recorded, and it's November, with the $259 million in revenue. In 2022, which category generate the highest transaction value? And the answer is mobiles and tablets, with $980 million in revenue. And then compare transaction value for each category in 2021 and 2022. Identify categories with increased or decreased transaction values from 2021 to 2022. And as you can see, every category has increased except others and books category. And then show the top 5 most popular payment method used in 2022 that based on the total unique orders. And we have the cash on delivery, Chase voucher, Pay Access, Easy Pay, and Cash at Doorstep. And then rank the following 5 products by transaction value: Samsung, Apple, Sony, Huawei, and Lenovo. And from top to bottom, we have Samsung, Apple, Lenovo, Sony, and Huawei. And then finally, for the recommendation, I would recommend to reduce the reliance on anomaly-driven revenue by stabilizing core product performance. The revenue in 2022 was heavily driven by one-off event, which is in September with mobile and tablet spikes, which are not sustainable. TechSquare should prioritize consistently performing categories such as appliance, which show balanced revenue and unit sales, and reduce over-dependence on short-term product searches. And then they should refine pricing, cost control, and promotion to improve profit consistency. The revenue is volume-driven while profit is event-driven, indicating pricing and cost inefficiency. TechSquare should renegotiate supplier pricing, limit aggregation discount during high volume periods, and focus promotion on improving margin, not just order count. Rebuild customer retention with segment-specific engagement strategies. The loyal normal customers declined sharply after mid-2022, while the pre-registered customers show high value but inconsistent behavior. Implement loyalty incentive for repeat normal customer and targeted activation campaigns for high potential pre-registered customer to balance stability and upside. And then for the last recommendation, I would like to suggest that to leverage high-performing brands for bundle and upsell strategies. Samsung and Apple consistently generate the highest revenue and AOV. The TechSquare should use this brand as an anchor products for bundles, cross-sales, and premium offer to lift the AOV across lower impact categories such as superstores and books.